Nu ska vi träffa Maximilian Missoni, Polestars designchef som är ansvarig för den här P4 som står bakom oss. Vi ska prata om kinesisk bildesign, vad som driver framtiden, alltså vad ser bilarna ut så lika som de gör just nu. Och vi ska prata om Polestar, hur de har hittat en egen teknisk lösning som gör att de har en egen design faktiskt.
Would you say there is a Chinese design DNA?
So what's happening now is that China is extremely dynamic as a market, and there is a lot of, I would say, vacuum in the Chinese market. So it pulls a lot of creative people, a lot of ideas, innovation into this market. So it is, and since that's happening worldwide, like a lot of people I know from my circles as designers, they're coming to China to create and to innovate here. So would you now say that they're also setting up studios, design studios worldwide. So some of the brands that are Chinese car brands now, they have design studios, the main studios in Munich, in Torino, in European cities. And there's a mix of Chinese designers and European designers, and in that case, or Americans as well. But so it's very hard to say, is that already a Chinese design DNA or the Chinese style? I think that you can see a new age style when it comes to electrification. I think electrification has liberated designers a lot, but at the same time, aerodynamics really pushes, or aerodynamics, I wouldn't say forces, but it's very, you need to focus on aerodynamics, and that creates a very specific body style and a very specific design. And we have very much deliberately thought about that and said, okay, where do we follow the rules of aerodynamics 100%, and where do we become creative by working around it with aerodynamic enhancement, as we call it. So meaning the object itself is more crystalline and not quite as aerodynamic as it could be, but then we're working with ducts and with blades in order to mitigate that. And that's specifically what we did in Polestar 3, which is supposed to be this, let's say, feel-good archetype of an SUV, but then in a more efficient way, and that's where that happens. And Polestar 4 is more playing into the literal rule book of aerodynamics, so we have a good differentiation there.
If you look at a lot of the new Chinese car brands, they look the same, I think. You have really rather plain or not so big grille, and you have small lights, and you have the aerodynamics, and sort of you could just, it's really hard to differentiate them. This is that car because they look the same. You could just take away the brand logo and you will not be able to, I think they look the same. And I think maybe if you really looked at Volvo EX90, it's sort of a Chinese face now.
Här kommer en design och spaning. Så här har bilarna sett ut tidigare. Ganska stor grill, och ju större grill man har, desto mer har man förmodligen haft under motorn, alltså under huven, för att man har en stor motor som behöver mycket luft för att kunna ge all kraft och så vidare. Så mycket grill, ganska stora lampor. Men nu så håller Volvo på att gå till den kinesiska designen. Ska titta på hur den ser ut. Det här är ju den designen som nästan alla kinesiska tillverkare har. Ingen stor grill, ganska smala lampor, avskalat, ganska faktiskt europeiskt, skandinaviskt ska jag säga. Men också lite grann, man tappar bort ansiktet, för det blir lamporna som ska vara ansiktet, men de är väldigt små oftast. Här har lite pixlar och grejer. Ja, min spaning är att Volvo har liksom gått iväg mot den kinesiska designen. Vi ska se på massa andra bilar här som har ungefär den här designen.
That's it. I think I have to give you a point there when I said electrification led to a liberation of design.
Yeah.
At the same time, and I think it's a lot affected by aerodynamics. People have fallen into new ways, but very similar new ways. So I think there's a lot of similar design out there now, but it's up to us to change that. And
So how do you differentiate? Is the lights that's the new grille, or where do you? You should be able to see this is a Polestar within 100 meters. If it's good.
I mean, we have the dual blade, which is, let's say, a evolution/revolution of Thor's hammer. You know, it's the two blades going, moving apart from each other. And in a sense, I would say that was a good development, because we have separated the light units without doing the usual, which is a line and light somewhere hidden in the bottom. This is what you're referring to when you see all out there. It's like small daytime running lights and a light hidden in a air intake type of scenario. You see that everywhere. It's a strong trend.
Yes.
And the designers, they're itching to do that because it's cool now.
Yes,
right?
that's a new thing you can do,
Yeah.
because the technology allows you to do this with the light technology, right?
So in that sense, we still have one light unit, but by moving it apart and by clustering the main headlights with one of the two blades, I think we have a very unique look now. And so it's not traditional anymore, where you have this one clear headlamp area, but it's also not the line with two dots somewhere. So I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, I think it's fortunate that you have the Thor's hammer theme.
Well, it's an evolution of it,
I know,
for sure.
I know.
And you see how our friends at Volvo played with Thor's hammer. I think that's also a very creative way of not doing what everybody else is doing.
They are a little bit bigger than the normal Chinese brand.
A bit, yeah, but they don't have a line and two hidden
no.
lights. It's a very different idea, so you should check it out.
So is it the lights that's the new differentiator to see what brand is it? Is it the headlights that you will see?
Well, I have to say, I have this philosophy or it's not a philosophy, it's a toolkit of design, and you can't pin it on one feature.
No.
It's like, it's a pyramid, so the proportions are super important on the base to understand, you know, it's an attraction thing. It's like, wow, what cool car is this? So that you feel the proportions. And the second one is then the signatures. That's what you're talking about, which could be lights, which could be certain design elements that are very characteristic. You know, think of the P1800 with the swing up and the haunch in the rear. It's like, oh, must be a P1800. So these are signatures that are identifiers of a brand, and you have to place them wisely so that people recognize your brand. And the third layer then is form language. Is it soft? Is it hard? Is it muscular? Is it dynamic? Is it elegant? This is kind of a relationship builder with your vehicle. I mean, think of a Mini versus a Lamborghini. You have totally different attachment to these form languages, you know, and that's why Porsche is so successful, because they have a very friendly, soft form language, but on a very muscular, powerful package. And this combination is just very compelling. And then the tip of the pyramid, as I call it, for me that is stories. It's like our smart zone. For me it's important to have stories that we can tell people, but also that people can tell their neighbors. It's like, hey, do you know what that is? You know, and then you have a unique feature that you can talk about. And you can design a great car without these stories, but when you place them well and they make a lot of sense, then it's a really rewarding experience.
So what about LiDAR as a design element then?
Pardon?
What about LiDARs as a design element?
You see more and more LiDARs popping up. They could be hidden more in down there somewhere, but then they're mostly not so powerful. They don't have the range. And the ones who use the top of the line LiDAR, it goes on the roof.
Yeah.
And this has been a challenge for us designers. It's like, okay, well, what do we do with that?
Yeah.
But we have decided to turn it around, and in a tasteful way, and there is a limit to its size. It has to be compact, but in a tasteful way, turn it into which it is actually. It's like the new luxury. It's like, hey, I have a laser scanner. Do you know what the laser scanner does? You know, check this out. I mean, that's a big story in itself. So if it's integrated and designed well, I think a LiDAR can be attractive.
And for the P4?
Polestar 4 has a different system. So Polestar 4 and Polestar 3 are on two different platforms.
Yeah.
The 3, as you know, is on a Volvo
Yeah.
platform, and that works with 5 radars and 1 lidar, and then countless cameras and ultrasonics. And the Polestar 4 is on a SEA platform,
Yes.
a group platform, and that one works with 12 cameras and 1 radar. So there's no lidar integrated. It's a very capable system, but it has a different principle. It's more the vision principle and not the radar and lidar principle. There's a radar, of course, you need that for redundancy, but it's based on the algorithms that learn from or understand what the cameras see and then deduce a
So it's a little less expensive system, right?
The 2 systems are in two different segments.
Yes.
So that will, and Polestar 3 will, in a couple of years, it will enable autonomous drive and in certain conditions.
Via updates, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what the lidar on the top is another safeguard that it is redundant. It has enough redundancy in the system.
Mm-hmm. So in future, would you see more technology that will affect the design?
Yes, and it already does. And our philosophy is also to show the technology off. So to work with the technology rather than trying to disguise it. That again, Smart Zone is a good example.
Yeah.
We write on it, look, here are some sensors there, the heating wires. So using what, of course, it runs through our filter as designers. We're not just showing the cables, which sometimes we do.
Yeah, I
Polestar
know.
one.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
great.
But that wasn't that easy either, because of course all the different orange cables came in different colors. So you had to talk to the suppliers to agree on one orange, and so on. So it's never that easy as you think. But so that's a Polestar thing, to be proud and show off technology, celebrate it.
But what new technology we will see coming that will affect the design?
Yeah, that's, well, in a positive way, and that's still quite a few years out, but it's level 5.
Level 5, okay.
Autonomy, meaning full autonomous cars where you don't need to respect the driver's need for, vision angles, the laws, the regulations. There's so much. I mean, car design, even though there's lots of different ideas and body styles out there, we are quite limited in what we can do by the laws and regulations in different markets, especially if you want to go in all 3 markets. Things are legal here, they're illegal there. So, I mean, but when the driver has been taken out of the system, then you can do
whatever.
Yeah, then the boat designers will be happy, because then it's very similar. Boats are much more free in what they can do than cars are.
I have one more question about the design of the P4. You don't have the rear window.
No.
No. So that's sort of a first, right?
Yeah, and it does. You see it behind me, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at a 3 here. So, but I have it here now. Just for a second. Look, this image, for example. I missed it.
It went away.
It was the rear view. And
Here,
it's so
here.
striking, the rear view, when you see it from full rear view. It's such a, here it is again. It's a bit of a mid-engine car. I mean, there is kind of maybe the heritage of that look. If you want to look at a parallel in history, it's mid-engine cars.
Yeah.
Because they had that setup. There was a big engine back there.
Yes.
But we didn't do it for design purposes. It turned out to be quite interesting looking as design. But what it really does, that the physical mirror really limits. It's the little mirror surface that limits the architecture of the rear end of the car, because there is a structure, a roof structure there, and it has to be above the sight line from your mirror. It has to be as low as possible for aerodynamics. Otherwise, you get if it's beyond a certain degree, then air cuts off. So it has to be in a position there. So what happens traditionally is that you get a very compromised little opening, and all you see is the headrests of your own car, and if there are people, it gets even worse.
Yeah.
In modern cars, because we have to be aerodynamic.
Yes.
We need that structure, and we have to see something. So if you take one of these things out of the equation, which is the sight, and you replace it with a good camera, then you can move the structure behind the heads where it actually should be, and then you have a massive glass roof. So, and we don't even have a middle beam. It's complete. It's one single piece glass roof, which gives you more head clearance in the rear, which gives you this cradled feeling and the look forward. And it gives you a better silhouette for aerodynamics.
Yeah. So lower drag.
Yes,
Yeah.
but I mean in that area, it's a couple of counts, but
Yeah,
yes,
anyway.
everything helps, and it's a lower drag through that fact, and it results in a very new design in the rear, which I think on the street will really stand out.
Yeah, and will it be a new design language for your differentiator? Not have a rear window, you will have it on the 5 as well?
Yes,
Yes.
we have introduced it on Precept,
Yes.
which is was the pre-runner for the 5.
Yeah. So do you think you will continue?
Well, let's see. I mean, you can never know, but I think it's a big liberator and it opens up possibilities for design and for other comfort and interior features.
Great. The infotainment is more important now, and that will reflect on the design of the cars.
Yeah, exactly. But wait a minute. So the point is that now with so much focus on the digital side of cars, the interior infotainment and what you can do, which is very important, clearly. But I do see that some people lose focus on what we have developed as skills over decades or maybe a century, how to make a car look powerful and how it has the right proportion and sits well on its wheels and it communicates performance. That's a skill.
Yeah.
And people tend to forget nowadays about it. It's like, it's so cool, it's a computer on wheels. But what about what about these values, And we're very much about that still, and you can see it, how it sits on its wheels, how the stance is, how the surfaces are sculpted. And that's Polestar, the combination of the two. And then comes the third element, which is sustainability. You should also feel that we are really working hard to make you feel good about your decision to go with the Polestar. So you will see we're quite transparent, you see on your labels on the seat, you see how many grams of CO2 this specific material emits at the point when you purchased your vehicle. Mm-hmm. And if you go for the next one in your leasing scheme or whatever, this number might be lower.
Så vi står alltså i Shanghai omgivna av 80 000 tulpaner. Och det doftar och det är liksom lite fuktigt och det är mysigt här. Och sen så matchar det väldigt bra med de här 2 stycken vita fina Polestar-bilarna. Och här har vi den här väldigt, väldigt speciella akten utan bakruta. Som ska ge mycket mer utrymmen och bättre dynamik och också ett helt unikt uttryck vad gäller designen. Man ser ju att det är en Polestar, den är lite kantig men är mjuk samtidigt. Kraftig. Jag tycker den påminner lite grann om Chevrolet Volt faktiskt. Står brett, sportigt. Någon sorts mix mellan, om man ska prata Tesla, en 3 och en Y. Nu ska vi kliva in här. Så. Sitter lågt och fint. Sportiga, fina stolar. Stor skärm som man kan möblera om. Fin, stor, bra skärm rakt framför. Och här har vi då liksom grejen då att vi har en stor backspegel som gör att man kan se bakåt förstås. Vi ska titta bakåt hur det ser ut där. Det är helt svart. Det är lite som att åka van. Nu klipper vi bak här snabbt som tusan. Medan vi kan smita emellan. Det är Carwow ska komma hit och filma alldeles strax. Så att jag fick en snabb. Här kan vi se hur mycket CO2 det här materialet har släppt ut. Det är väldigt, väldigt långt så här. Så det är mycket större än tidigare. Mycket större än en Polestar 2 naturligtvis. Jag sitter bra. Lite dåligt med fötterna dock. Om jag ska sträcka på mig. Stort fint glastak som tar slut här bak. Känns bred, känns låg, känns sportig. Men rymlig. Airbags här. Fina material. Ja, men det känns jättehärlig faktiskt bilen. Bekväma platser för 2 personer. Så ska vi se. Bra lutning på ryggstödet. Här kan man liksom sjunka ner och softa lite grann och ha det mysigt.